Yes, guys, welcome back to another week of the weekly roundup. It's week 13, and we've got some news for all you beautiful listeners out there.
hmm
How are you all? How have you
Well,
been?
I'm all good, brother. How are you? What's going on in the crypto space?
Well,
What's not going on?
you know what? For the first week, there's not actually a lot going on in terms of crypto. Have you found that as a content creator? Has it been a bit of a quieter week, let's say?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird week to be
Like
honest.
just in terms of like proper just crypto news, obviously there's been a few stories breaking out here and there, but there's been nothing like groundbreaking, let's say,
Yeah,
like we have had over the past,
it's
let's say,
been
four,
it's been what's called in the
5 weeks.
industry a boring week.
It has been a boring week. So this week we are obviously going to speak about a few just like
Mm.
crypto stories, a bit of XRP there. Then we've also going to take a bit of a dive into the what's going on in the economy right now, because it obviously does tie in, maybe not directly, but obviously indirectly to the cryptocurrency market. So we're going to discuss that,
I just want
dive
to
into the
throw
charts.
one thing in there quickly. Is
Yeah,
like this week could easily turn around because of one of the things we're going to talk about in
yeah,
terms of
XRP
what
or
Jeremy Hogan, yeah,
yeah, I've got that.
yeah. So it could
It's
easily turn around from
yeah,
being
this
a boring
exactly
week to being like one of the
one
biggest
of the
weeks
best
ever.
weeks.
So
Exactly. That's we're yet to see. But anyway, we'll start here with actually Jeremy Hogan as well. Uh, I just thought I'd kick him because obviously he's an attorney, he kind of knows what he's talking about. But probably the biggest story to break from this week concerns Voyager and how they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, if you don't know what that means, Jeremy Hogan does a good job here. It says at the end of Chapter 11, the business will continue slash survive, which sounds good unless it owes you money, which obviously it owes a lot of people money. Obviously, top comment there. What happens to coin holders like me? It's just basically saying everything's getting reorganized. Generally takes about 6 to 9 months. So obviously we're not experts in this field, so I don't actually know what that means.
mm,
But it's not good news. It's another big name having financial problems.
mm. I mean, it's not as bad as like UST where your money just gets
Uh,
obliterated because here,
yeah,
then this is kind of the protection that you get from a centralized party, and this is why regulation in the space is needed. So if companies do over leverage or do things wrong with your capital, you may have some protection. Yeah, it might take 6 to 9 months to get your capital back, but people are
at
going
least
to
you don't
take that
lose
if
it.
your life savings are in there, aren't they? So
Yeah, exactly.
even if you don't get exactly what you originally put in, like if you look at UST and the diminishing returns people got there, they
Yeah,
lost like 99% of their wealth, or Luna specifically, maybe more like 99.9% of their wealth, like in a day.
yeah.
And on with like bankruptcies and stuff like this, they will like pay you pennies on the dollar or cents on the dollar for your assets. So is that protection? That's kind of another like advocate or like push towards the need for regulation in the space. So
Yeah, I was watching an interview today. I think it was on Keto News. He had a guest and he was talking about how all these lending companies are struggling with liquidity when the markets obviously go down. And he just basically said like there's just going to be a massive wave of like regulation when it comes to lending. These, if you want to get into the space as a lending company, you're gonna have to go through like a lot of regulation to kind of get on the map, kind of thing.
mm,
Which is like you said, it's needed. So obviously, next time we do go into a bull market, we people don't get stung by this, but nonetheless, it's still not the most bullish news to come out. That a pretty big name again is struggling, but we
yeah, for
expected
sure.
it.
Because like
We
into a bull
expected it.
market, it's blooming easy, isn't it?
Oh
Like
yeah, that's literally what he said. Yeah, in an interview, he said in the bull market, it's easy for people to like get over leverage and do whatever they want to do with people's lock-ins.
mm,
But when it's in the bull market, they run into a lot of issues, like obviously liquidity issues and
mm,
other stuff about, as well behind the scenes. So it's not good. It's
it's
not
not
good.
it's not looking
So
good, bud.
obviously it does need to get sorted out, which I'm sure it will be over the next year or two. I think they'll really clamp down on it.
Mm,
Um, Another bit of news, and just before we put this out there, this was they did come out the next day, Bitstamp did, and redact all of this. But on July the 6th, which was yesterday,
hmm
they came out and they said that they were going to charge inactive users €10 monthly fee.
Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
even see this. So like, you just brought this to my attention for the first time. I think I've
it's
got
a
a
bit
Bitstamp
ridiculous.
account. I don't know if I've ever even used it, but like I've definitely got one. Actually, I have. I may or may not have used it.
Yeah,
Um, but like, so what happens to mine? Do I get a ten
no.
euro
So
monthly fee?
literally, I think obviously this got tweeted at 9 a.m. UK time. I'm
Mm,
pretty sure it could have been the same day in the evening time that the same Twitter account here, Watchaker, who kind of got reports on all
yeah.
crypto news, he basically like quote retweeted it and said, "Oh, they've retracted this. So they must have got a lot of hate, or I don't know what must have happened.
Yeah, because
But
I'd be straight away closing my account if that was if
yeah,
that
but
was
it's
the
just like,
case.
the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because we've not seen anything like this really in crypto, have we?
No,
So
no, but
it's a bit alarming
I think there might be some sort of like,
in the T's and C's.
yeah, in some like if you hold it inactive for like 3 years or something, you might get a charge.
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
not sure specifically,
It,
but I'm pretty sure I have had that in the past with a previous exchange from when I was in the space before, but I don't know if it's still a thing now.
yeah, I mean, it depends what they define as inactive users, like what's that time period. So,
Mm.
like, I'm sure there will be, because you can't just keep your money in an exchange because it's not a bank, if that makes sense. Like, you can't just, it's not even your money anyway once it's in an exchange. So,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure
Yeah.
there'll be something in the small print for that anyway.
Speaking of banks,
Speaking of bank, we've got the Bank of the World himself.
did you see the tweet today? No, went quickly before this. Did you see
What?
the joke tweet today? I think I quote retweeted it with laughing faces. Like, Sam Bankman-Fried puts an offer in for UK government as it dissolves.
This guy is literally buying everything and just providing everyone with money when everyone needs it. And he reckons he's got a few billion for additional bailouts as well, just a casual few $1 billion sitting there on the side. But obviously, you just made a TikTok about it. Obviously, we were just speaking about that, whether he's the villain or the hero. We obviously spoke about that last week as well. But
Yeah,
to
he
have a few billion on the sidelines waiting for additional bailouts, is it a good thing? We're still waiting for that answer. So far, so good.
yeah
Has he got ulterior motives? Who knows?
he's put some big stakes out there, like it says there, BlockFi 250 million credit line. Then I don't know if he tried to purchase any of BlockFi, 200 million credit line to Voyager, as it says there. He also bought like 6.7% stake in Robinhood for like 648 mil. He actually, I watched an interview with him this morning with Julia Chatterley on CNN, like a 10-minute interview, and what I took from that is that they're looking basically into wider crypto exchanges. So he said actually on there, because Julia Chatterley asked him specifically about Coinbase, and he said there's not a better time to be buying parts of Coinbase, and I would love to work with them in the future. I don't want to start any rumors, but we have been speaking to them. So potentially he's going to come through and scoop some of Coinbase up. He said as well in that interview that he thinks this flush out in margin and getting rid of a lot of companies that are over leveraged is really healthy for the space. It becomes unhealthy when well capitalized companies start to feel the brunt of this, and that's when he's starting to deploy some of his capital. And he said, so he said basically that he wasn't scared to keep buying up stuff that he thought, like, he said also in there that, and he stressed the point of like wanting to help the everyday investor who may have lost like capital. So he's coming out like the absolute hero of the space at the minute, and I hate to look at people with like this sort of view, but if someone's like doing something, I always see the bad side, the potential bad side of it. Like, is he going to be the hero? Like, do you trust someone?
Or is he trying to control everything?
Exactly. He's saving the space, which is brilliant, and anyone who's got like crypto that could get liquidated in some of these exchanges is going to love him forever, and for that, like, they should be eternally grateful. And I am as well if he manages to save the space. Like, no one wants to watch their portfolio go down any further. So for that, yeah, great, thank you. But what does it mean in the future? It brings a lot of centralized power to one person, and whether they're a good person or not, I'm pretty sure everyone's got a price they can be manipulated for, or we don't know like how things like that happen at the very top level, what he may or may not like be doing it for. But one interesting point that I made in my TikTok earlier is that Sam Bankman-Fried was actually the second biggest personal donator to Joe Biden's campaign in 2020. What that specifically means, I don't know, but I just think it's very interesting to see that he was one of the people. He donated like 5.2 million to Joe Biden's campaign. Obviously now Biden's the president. What's going on there? Like, are they friends? Is Biden acting in Bankman-Fried's best interest? Is Bankman-Fried acting in Biden's best interest? Like, is it that deep, or is it just that he was like, look, I want to be in his good book, so if there's something happens with crypto, I can try and push him in the right direction for legislation. Like, it's just all a bit like, it's all a bit, even though there's nothing specifically negative, it's actually really positive. It's all a bit like scary.
Yeah, like we said last week, time will tell, but I definitely agree. with that. It's kind of getting a bit too centralized for my liking, especially if he does end up buying parts of Coinbase or whoever he intends to spend the billions of dollars on in bailing out. But I guess we will see. But for now, I guess it's no harm, is it, really, to the market and space and other companies in general. So we've just got to sit back and see what he's got next up his sleeve. But that's the crypto bit done. But I guess we'll go into the XRP, and this is what we were talking about at the start in terms of how this week could change. Because obviously, right now it's Thursday, the 7th of July. It's 5:20 here in the UK, but obviously America are behind, so anything can happen. We've still basically got 2 working days left. If you're concerned about America, but it's because a lot of people were asking Hogan when are we getting his emails, asking him a bit of an update on the case or whatever. And he came out and tweeted, I think Judge Netburn will rule on him in emails this week, mainly because the motions to strike expert witnesses are due next Tuesday, which obviously does make sense. And whether we do get a decision on this, who knows? But it could be huge if we do, even today, get it in the evening time in the UK, or even tomorrow. It could change the week up massively for XRP specifically. What do you think? Do you think we're getting these? Do you think we'll get the decision?
Like, I'd like to say yeah, because like he's saying there, they've got more like things that need to be addressed in the case next week, so it would make sense for us to get them. But like, I feel like I've been holding my breath for like so long, and this issue has nearly lasted a year now. Like, I think it started in August of last year, and we're in blooming July, and we haven't seen a concrete decision. Like, we've seen 3 decisions from the judge on the emails, and then be appealed, and now we're like, seems to be like the last leg, and it just seems to be taking forever. So I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I would have thought that. And this is, again, just my personal speculation, nothing to look into at all, because I have nothing, like, no experience in law. But I would have thought if it was a straightforward decision, it'd already be made. Like, if she had a mindset, like, yeah, I know she had to read an extra 10 pages, but she already knew which way she was going to lean before that. If she was literally just confirming it to herself, would it not already be out? That's one thing I worry about. But, like, again, I don't have a clue how the law works. She's probably super busy. I know that they're, like, legislating loads of cases, or like giving the decision to loads of cases at the same time. It's not just the XRP Ripple case. So I don't know. It's obviously huge. If we get this decision as a positive one for Ripple, it's a massive step in the right direction, and it gives them a lot of leverage in terms of going forward, especially if the details of those emails are what we expect them to be. If they are what we think, then it's almost case over. But again, we've got a few variables. We don't know when specifically she's going to release the information for them. We don't know if she will be positive towards Ripple. And we also don't actually know what's in the email thread. We can just presume it's going to be damaging for the SEC. So they're the 3 things that I'm slightly cautious on. But yeah, if you're going to ask me, do I think it will happen? Yeah, I think it's going to happen soon. But I don't want to like hold my breath on it. Yeah.
Yeah, even when I read this, like, my instant reaction was as soon as I read this week, I just thought, yeah, right, like, I've heard that before. We've heard it all before. SEC are really good at delaying stuff, and the judge just for some reason still needs a bit additional time to make a decision on this. But like, I agree with you in terms of like the decision. If it's that clear, surely she would have made the decision. Is she still waiting for additional things? Is she going to come out and say she wants an addition? Can she come out and say she needs additional emails? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she can just say what she wants.
That's what I mean. So like, she could easily just say, "Oh no, I need another 10," and then we can be going through this cycle again. So I think, like I said last week, I'll see it when I believe it when I see it, in terms of like getting a hold of these emails or when it's announced. But
yeah,
I'm like you. I'm not holding my breath. I really am not. 'Cause I feel like we talk about it every week, and we're on week 13. So
fuck the SEC.
That's what I mean. Because look what they're trying to do now as well. They're waiting again. They're waiting again. Obviously, James Finland's been on it, and he's basically coming out and saying the SEC intends to file motions to exclude or limit the testimony of 10 experts who were retained by Ripple Labs, or Christian Larson and Brad Garden House. So my basic understanding of this is the SEC are trying to limit the amount of information that comes out of these 10 people on Ripple's side of the case, kind of thing. Is it another way to delay the case, or is there a reason why they're specifically attacking these experts.
Yeah, I briefly covered this on. I was on Zach Rector's podcast this morning. Briefly covered this, and we basically both think that obviously we've got the amici of John Deaton trying to get this Patrick Doodie's report for the general investor of XRP, and I think that the SEC are just trying to like flex and say, look, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to do this, and just be a bit petty in terms of like what's going on in the case, just try and delay things and just make it uncomfortable for people at Ripple and the lawsuit in general. And it's just like, I actually think the whole case is even more ridiculous than I thought it was in the first place. Like the actual like every days of the case is just it's like a school ground argument. It's like, oh, can you show us this file that might relate to us? And they're like, no, we're not going to do that, and now we don't want you to do this. And it's like, come on, bro, just get.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous now.
What I really don't get about the lawsuits is, get all the information that you've got, give it to each other, find out what's fact, and then that's what the answer is. Like that's where law has just got twisted nowadays. It's like,
yeah, I feel like Ripple are trying to do that, but the SEC are just kind of trying to hinder that process and doing things like you said, petty things like this, trying to delay the case. That's all I think it is, because I feel like something comes out now every couple of weeks, and I just look at it and think, like I've seen it before, kind of thing. Just it's another tactic from either side to delay it or do something like petty, like you said. So it's not really professional. Obviously, the SEC don't really seem that professional anyway, but
it's not looking good.
It's not looking good. It's another delaying tactic. I'm sure something else will come out this week, and we'll be speaking about it next week, saying how ridiculous it is. But that's enough for XRP and crypto, because now we're going to move to the section like we're speaking about. And to be fair, like I feel like even a lot of content creators this week have focused a lot on the economic situation, taking a more of like a macro approach on it instead of like focusing on crypto specific charts.
Yeah, I think I covered it quite, like, not specifically the ISM that we're going to talk about now, but I think I covered like the economy in general in the newsletter that we're going to release like next week.
Yeah, so we're starting with our very good friend Raoul Pal, who's a goat in the space, and he's basically talking about the ISM, and again, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. So he's got this blue line. I'm not too sure in terms of what these indicators actually mean specifically. Obviously, the ISM's the ISM, but the blue seems to be a leading indicator for the ISM, and he's expecting a sharp decrease in it, which here, let me get you guys in the.
Like every time the ISM in the past has gone below 50, it's basically meant a recession in the US, but it's also been the time when the Fed have pivoted on their monetary policy.
Yeah, and that's basically what you're saying here as well. 100% chance of a Fed pause since 1972. So he's obviously gone back, looked through the history when the ISM has crossed the 50, and a Fed pivot tends to follow. That's basically
if you scroll down to that second tweet, I think that he told you all the time.
Yeah,
there,
you can see here just like he's gone through everything in great detail, and he's picked them out. But the moral of the story, and it's a narrative that Raoul, and not just Raoul actually, a lot of other big people within this space have been pushing, is that we are heading towards a really bad recession. Whether it's sharp in, quick out, which Ralph does think, or is it going to be a long, elongated kind of one due to the fact that what's the war, everything else that's going on as well?
Yeah, because I feel like at the minute, like governments are trying to balance high inflation with like the risk of recession at the same time. It's like they've got weights for both sides of the scales, but they're not quite right.
That's what I mean.
It's a very weird period to be in. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you can't kind of just focus on one without the other one going down. Like you said, it's like literally on a scale, isn't it? In terms of if you start overstimulating a bit of QE, it'll go the other way. So it's a tricky thing, to be fair. Everyone's in the same position though.
Yeah, Raoul Pal's been like calling about deflation rather than inflation for a long time. He thinks we've been deflation. He thinks our problem is deflation, or it will be. He says that inflation's a short-term problem and deflation's going to actually be the risk. And like, I can kind of understand why he's saying that. But like, I've got kind of a long-term prediction here. Yeah,
go on.
This is what I think is going to happen. maybe we get one or two more hikes in from the Fed. Like we'll get a 0.75 potentially this month, depending on how bad the CPI comes out. And when is that? Maybe tomorrow? Soon?
13th, I think it is.
Okay, so next week we'll get the CPI readings. We may get one or two more rate hikes come through from the Fed, but then I think we'll reverse or pause slowly. I don't think it'll be like an instant unless the economy completely collapses. We'll reverse or pause, and we'll keep decreasing in interest rates. So like QE will get everything will get looser in terms of money borrowing. To the point where CBDCs will be released, and then we'll go into negative interest rates to try and stimulate spending. There you go. You heard it here first on the Crypto Insight UK weekly roundup with
time frame.
I don't know. That depends how long it takes and how much monetary stimulus they need. But what are we at the minute? Like, let's say, what's the interest rates at now? Like 1.5, sorry.
Something like that, yeah.
So let's say we get to 2.5% interest altogether, like when let's say we get a 0.75 and then a 0.25 or a 0.5. So let's just say 2.5%, and then they try and like ease back the other way, maybe like 2 years, year and a half.
Yeah, I agree with you. Fair. I've been focusing on this side a lot more recently because I've just been trying to gain. It's good to read into this stuff, like even if you're in crypto, because it gives you a much bigger picture in terms of what's going to be going on over the next couple of years. But Raul seems to basically not echo what I say. I seem to follow Raul because I just agree with what he says. He seems to get all this information down and break it down like appropriately. So it just makes sense. What he's saying it makes complete sense to me. I think we are going to go into recession here because, bearing in mind, obviously, US has already experienced 1 quarter of negative growth. Now, the next release is on July 28th, which is obviously in 21 days, 3 weeks. And a lot of people are suspecting another consecutive quarter of negative growth. And that is technically, as definitions go, a recession. And I think that's when we'll find out what's going on. But I feel like a month or two ago, everything was up in the air in terms of what's going to happen. But now I feel like what Raul's been saying and a lot of other people have been saying is starting to come into fruition a bit, and all these other indicators, whether it be the ISM or the lead indicator to ISM, which is indicating a sharp downturn, which like a recession normally follows that, it's kind of happening right now, and it's kind of hard to argue against that narrative. So it's gonna. I think we could have a potentially interesting Q3 on our hands. I think majority of it will unfold in Q3, early start of Q4.
And what I'm really going to have sorry, go on, you go. I
was just going to say, and then next year will be like the rebuilding process and like hopefully like another absolute massive bull market. But we don't know what's going to happen anyway. Like even if we do go into a deep recession, obviously crypto's not been about in recession. So how do we know what's going to react? Is it going to still follow the market? Probably will, but there's still that off chance where it could just go off and do its own thing.
Yeah, I think that we really should keep our eye on the correlation between crypto and stocks. I think at some point they are going to decouple, and I think that we're going to see a major rally. I think we might see a major rally in both crypto and stocks as soon as we see some sort of dovishness from the Fed, at least a relief rally of decent proportion that probably wrong foots a lot of people. If not, like a big push in crypto. If crypto can decouple from the equities markets, I genuinely believe the longer we spend in this sort of time frame now, and this obviously goes like unless we see a collapse of Tether or a big exchange, like if Sam Bankman-Fried can artificially like prop us up here, and then we get dovishness from the Fed, we're going to see a monster rally, in my opinion, from the crypto markets.
Yeah, because I think things are starting to slow down a bit. Obviously, if you follow us on Twitter, you know that we've been speaking about DXY a lot and oil. In fact, I wrote something about oil in the newsletter in terms of what I think is going to be going on with it. And again, you guys will have to check the newsletter out. The first one is going to be free, so you will be able to see it. What I've done is I've basically lined up all the CPI reads alongside the price chart of oil, and it's clear that when oil is kind of ahead of the CPI percentage, basically, it's a bit of like a lead-in. You can clearly see 3 weeks later, the CPI reads follow like the high. So for instance, if there's a high there, you'd see the high CPI reads like down here in the charts kind of thing. So if oil does continue going down, is this a little leg down before the next leg up? Who knows? That's why I think this is a really important chart. because it's just so heavily correlated with obviously CPI, with that being one of the biggest goods in the basket.
Mhm.
Um, that will obviously lead inflation coming down. Then the Fed can slowly start to pivot. So I think things can. We're in a position right now where I think things can change quite drastically. Like even if you look at the DXY, you should all know by now it's been on an absolute monster run. And I was just looking at here, tweeted here, where can it go from here? Obviously, where I feel tweeted here as well. Yeah, I won't be able to find the tweets. I'm not going to try and look for it. But obviously, I'll put a target up there for 107/108, which is pretty much at now. Will it reverse at 109? But like I was saying to you, Will, off camera, and like you said as well, and Raul said, there's not a lot of space between, or resistances between 109 and 120. So if it does, I put here 120 is a real possibility. So who knows what's going to happen? There's a lot of things.
Like because of the lack of resistance, or like what turns the DXY around? Is this a blow off top of the DXY and it's exhausted, or do we push up towards the previous all-time highs or the previous highs of 122? It's a blooming hard one at the minute. It's a hard one in terms of like what's going to come out. That's basically, I think people are waiting to see what comes out of the Fed as well, like next week with CPI and everything. If we do see CPI decrease, we know that like there's the ISM's indicating a recession. Two quarters of negative GDP indicate a recession. We've got too much inventory in a lot of the shops, meaning they're going to have to start trying to sell stuff. You want people to start spending money again, so you want to, like, at the minute they're tightening, which basically restricts money flow, and they're doing that to obviously bring down inflation. But all these kind of leading indicators, especially with oil coming down, they might have to do the opposite, and they might, like, even if they say, okay, look, we're going to do it this month, we're going to increase by 0.75 like we've talked about, which is probably already priced in my opinion. Then they say, okay, well, actually August, September, we're going to start to relax. If the numbers stay the same as they are or keep decreasing, that's when you might see a bit of a reversal or a turnaround in the DXY. But we also don't know what the inflation rate numbers are going to come out as. We don't have a clue like what CPI is going to come out as right now. I feel like we've been quite, not we, but the people who have been like forward forecasting CPI print have actually been quite a long way off it. So I think we wait and see what happens at the next like FOMC with the Fed.
Yeah, I think it's projected to be 8.7 for June to read. So I don't know. I really got a weird feeling inside me that I think it could be lower than 8.7, and I think maybe one more rate hike, and I think the pivoting could happen sooner rather than later in terms of what people are saying and what people are thinking. People are thinking like later down this year, maybe even potentially into next year. But I just think it'll be a lot quicker than people think. That's just from me, from the information I've got from all the YouTube videos I watch, and from what people are saying, Raul included. I personally think that the pivot's going to come end of Q3, I'd say. Mid to end of Q3.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
There could be downturn in the market, but I think that will cause them to pivot. So
yeah, because I think like they're basically saying they're not going to change until things start to break. But I think they run the risk of everything breaking at the same time if they're not too careful, and obviously they know that. But yeah, let's finish up with a bit of crypto analysis, shall we? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? Anything?
Yeah, again, I have spoken about Bitcoin in the newsletter. Just a short paragraph because who knows what's going on with this. But my personal opinion in terms of what's going on with Bitcoin and the markets in general, I think we're going to see maybe a short-term rally to about, I don't know, 28K, 27K mark, probably towards the 50 MA here on the chart. And then what happens after that, I don't know. In terms of like, I've got a gut feeling, but I'm not too sure what's going on. I think that's the point where we'll know. Obviously, I know it's all good saying it now because it's quite obvious, but when it gets to that point, I think we'll know whether obviously we're going to break through up or have another capitulative event and potentially set these lower lows that people are looking for, whether it be 14K, 10K, or even 3K. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of numbers down there that people are calling for. But short term, I strongly believe Bitcoin will get to that. So it's only like, I think it's a 40% rise from the rough prices from now. 30, 35, or mid 30s. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Well, by the time we get up to those sorts of price ranges, we'll hopefully have seen some of these CPI prints. We'll know if there's anyone extra leveraged out there in the crypto market and what damage is being done there, because that's basically, they're the main factors that are going to affect it one way or another, or at least give it the runway to be able to run. Like with like, this is what I've actually talked about in the newsletter as well, is we've talked about the DXY. While the DXY is running super hot, everything else gets smashed. But when the DXY starts to cool off, it doesn't automatically mean other things will rally, but it gives them the space to do that if they are going to do that.
Yeah. Agreed. I guess we'll have to tune in. Wait, when is the 13th? Let me just quickly see when the 13th is. It's on a Wednesday, so it will be before the weekly roundup. So we'll be able to talk to you guys about it. So we'll know by then. But it's one of those where you just got to keep constantly looking at, like we say every week, you need to be looking at everything. You need to be taking everything into account, whether it be oil, DXY, euro, because obviously euro is part of the currency in the DXY basket, which is set multi-year lows. So there's a lot going on outside of crypto and more economy based. So
yeah, and I think that I just want to finish off this week by saying we have got the newsletter, which will be free for everybody who wants a copy. We have, I think, decided on pricing for the newsletter going forward. We could talk about that. In fact, we might put the price in on the bottom of the newsletter this week. I think we'll run a promotion for the first however many people to sign up to the newsletter to get a discount on that as well. So if you want to be involved, have a look at our free copy, and yeah, we'll drop you a version every week for a very small price, and I hope that it helps you with your understanding of the market and and crypto in general. So, and obviously it's a good way to support us. Like, we do this for free because we enjoy it, and yeah, that's basically it. We want to put out all the information that we've got. People like to bring that information in different ways, and people like to read it. So that was the idea behind the newsletter.
yeah, I think you'll like it too. I think it's a good idea, and I think there's a lot of valuable information on there. Look, obviously, people, that we're not like vastly experienced, but we spend a lot of time watching other people's experiences, other people's opinions. Watch a lot of, obviously, Will does a lot of crypto specific and non-crypto specific research as well. So it's not like it's just going to be a load of waffle on a piece of paper. It's actually constructed information, I'd say.
I like to think that my main value as a content creator is by basically finding out the information and condensing it into one small area, and I think that's what we've done pretty well with this. We're trying to keep, it's quite hard actually, because I didn't think it'd be as hard as it was to write the newsletter, because I've got so much I want to say, but I want to keep it in a condensed section. So I think at the minute it's about 7 or 8 pages, and that's probably enough.
Yeah, I'd say that's more than enough. Obviously my specific chart section, there's a lot of charts pictures wise as well, so it's
pictures,
trying to almost spell it out for everyone as best as we can. But yeah, guys, keep your eyes out for that, because I'll definitely grab it. It's free. The first one's free anyway, so
may as well read it and see what you think, innit?
Yeah, man, keep an eye on it, and then see where it takes us.
Big things coming.
Markets are rallying at the moment as well as we speak.
Go on, XRP.
It's been floating around today, then ever since markets opened. It's been on a green candle. But even the indicators here, just to end it on that, indicators, obviously these are very basic indicators that everyone's got access to, but everything's kind of pointing towards a bit of a short-term rally anyway. So that's what I think will happen. It's not financial advice. Do your own research, because it could go down.
Thanks for that, Pav.
Top TA from Pav. I'm here
right,
week,
and on that note, peace up, A-Town down, as Usher would say. Thank you for tuning in to episode 13 of the Weekly Roundup.
See you later, guys.